literally rolling on the floor laughing. Life is one giant story. So the way that this video came about was I was actually taking a course which has to do with business, and they were discussing these three very important pillars within business. And I suddenly was sitting there and realized, holy cow, it made me realize all of a sudden that life itself and that each of our lives individually is like one giant cinematic movie. It really, really is. I would wager that if you look at your life from the very beginning till whatever point you are now, that if you look at the high points and the various low points, that your life, if you were to write it into a book or to put it on a screen, is a lot like a movie. And guess what? Guess who, well, hopefully is now at least the main character? You. What it made me realize was that, and this is why I wanted to make a video about it, because this isn't like an earth-shaking, realization. And yet it was very important for me to understand this differently. Why? Because I used to be someone who was, up until very recently, honestly, overly, and I will use that word on purpose, overly concerned with the opinions, with the views, with the whatever of everyone else. And very rarely, if ever, concerned with the most important opinion, honestly, within that, which is, you guessed it, our own selves opinion. In other words, your own opinion of yourself is what matters the most. How does this tie into the whole, what I'm talking about and how life is a giant story? Well, here's the thing. If you're someone like me, past versions of me, who used to be, or you are in this moment, very anxious in the external world, for any reason, honestly, because typically anxiety, in my experience, a lot of anxiety anyway, not all of it, a lot of it, comes from the perceived, how do I words this? How you think that other people will perceive you, essentially, in certain situations. And essentially, all of that boils down to fear. So what I realized was that, and this was very freeing, and again, that's the reason I want to share the video. It's not because you don't know that your life is a story and that everyone's lives are their own movies. It's because of the freedom that that brought me in realizing that and digesting that on a whole different level. So again, I want to emphasize what I came to realize in this moment, oddly enough, listening to these mentors talk about these three very important pillars and talking about storytelling in general. I realized that what a lot of us are doing out there in the world in general, and again, there's nothing wrong with this, what we do as humans is we're storytellers. And so I invite you, in fact, to see examples of this, to go out in your life and look around and see how many people you interact with in a day will tell you a story. And it'll be pretty funny because it's basically everybody, because like I said, we are storytellers. And again, to bring this back to the point of the whole freedom thing. So if you're like, I don't understand, let me try and connect the dots for you better here. When I was listening to them talk about the different aspects of a story while storytelling, I really did realize this just hit home in a different way, that everyone, for better and worse, for the most part, is caught up in their own stories. We are in a cyclone, like the Tasmanian devil, if you've ever seen those cartoons. It's, we think in a way that the world revolves around us. We are primarily focused upon, I don't know, is it the perception? Again, well, I used to focus on the way that I was seen. And what is so ridiculous about that is that I had an insane level of anxiety, because what if this person takes this way? What if that person sees this thing that I'm doing as offensive or rude? Or that was a lot of it for me, actually, interestingly, was specifically this rude thing, this fear of me, someone perceiving me as rude. Again, the point of it all just to say, people are essentially, and again, for better and worse, caught up in their own thing, like with their own blinders on. Now, while that may initially, again, I'm still not following you, Emily. The point is that it doesn't matter what you do. And I don't mean that in a cruel way. I watched a video from Infinite Waters the other day titled Nobody Cares. And at first I scratched my head and I was like, my guy, have you taken a walk off of a different pier now? Or like, are you going a different direction in life here? What's happening? And then I watched the video and I understood why he was making it. He was essentially saying what I'm saying here, that look, for better and worse, everyone in the world, for the most part, might, maybe give or take a very, very, very small awake percentage of the population, is caught up only in their own stories. You know, we're talking about the people that get up, they go to their 9 to 5, and they're okay with that. And they don't really look beyond that life for anything else, I guess you could say. That's kind of a crude way to put it. You get the point. And then there's us. And I want you to understand that you have freedom to do, and I've said this many times before, so barring that it doesn't harm anyone, you have the freedom to do whatever you like. And we're here to express ourselves. So the comedy is that while we're all caught in our own little blinders and we're oftentimes overly concerned with what the people out here are perceiving, we're not even seeing them, and they're not thinking about us 90% of the time. And that was one of, Infinite Water's points, was people aren't even thinking about us most of the time. So work on your stuff, do your thing, like do what it is that matters to you. Because his kind of point with saying no one cares is that at the end of the day, really, the only one who's gonna come to you and pat you on the back and say good job or encourage you to keep going and all of those things is yours truly. And that, again, is kind of a tough pill to swallow if it's your first time hearing it. It is the truth. You are your best you will either choose to be your best cheerleader or your most, I don't really know, I don't want to put labels here. You will either really help to drag yourself down by allowing yourself to continue these negative thought patterns, or you will eventually, I would hope, get on board with turning your mind into your own ally. And those are basically the two options you have, because as I've said before, at the end of the day, you're stuck with you, yourself, and you. Me, myself, and I. There's no one else weighing in on that. So if you're not comfortable and happy with you, what's the point? And again, as I've said many, many, many times, the point, I believe, at least largely, of us here on earth is to experience joy, to live, to love, to laugh, not to quote that horrible British, whatever it is, thing of live, laugh, love. It's so overused now, I can't even. So anyway, point of it is just to say that we are storytellers, and as such, realize that everyone is caught up in their own story. So it doesn't matter what you do. And again, I'm saying don't harm anyone or anything. Barring that, what does it matter? My point is, if you want to start that YouTube channel, start the channel. Because honestly, nobody's going to see that for potentially a while anyway, like 6 months to a year if we're being realistic. It'll be your mom, your grandma, and your cat that are commenting on your videos. And that's okay. We all start somewhere. The point is, I lived in, I guess you could say that I was a backup role in a lot of different, albeit beautiful, mostly people's lives growing up. And I'm a fully grown person now, and it's past time for me to be the main character in my life. And I invite you to do the same, because when you do that, this kind of goes along with my owning your voice, owning your power video that I did recently, a day ago, 2 days ago, whatever it was. Time flies when you're having fun making videos and being crazy. When you claim yourself and you're like, all right, enough of this living for other people, enough of this people pleasing, enough of me, settling for this or settling for that. I'm here to do what I'm here to do. I know I didn't incarnate on earth to, live for so-and-so. And when you take that on board and really embody and embrace that, there's a real power and a real shift that happens with your life. And things really do become, for lack of a more elegant or graceful way to say it, become more easy and more flowy and exciting, honestly, because you really do become the main character in your own story, which interestingly leads exciting and interesting things to happen in your life, which also sort of plays into the other video I did, which is that don't bother with wishing, just affirm things for yourself, because wishing is like throwing flour into the air. And honestly, that's a waste of your energy. It's scattered, it's unfocused. When you affirm things, when you can do that with belief and know that those things are going to come to you in some form or fashion because the universe actually wants to deliver, that's when your life really does become sci-fi and magical. So if this video has helped you or shifted your perspective, or you know anyone that would benefit from it, please do share it with them. Subscribe, as it really does help out a small content creator like myself working to get the message out there to the people that need it. And last but not least, if you, my beautiful spirit soul, need any support or coaching, please do feel very free to reach out to this email address, where it would be my sincere pleasure to help you in any way that I can. So with that, have a beautiful and a blessed rest of your day. Stay healthy and stay well. Namaste, much love, and I will see you cats in the next video. Bye. my guy, have you taken a walk off of a different pier now? Or like are you going a different direction in life here? What's happening? Be the own, but like, so it'll be your mom, your grandma, and your cat that are commenting on your videos, and that's okay. Just don't stare at something you don't want to look at. Me, myself, and I. And then there's us.